Welcome back, lost travelers. It seems you found your way back to me once again. I am Dr. Whisper, and it looks like your next appointment has just begun. So, pour yourself something strong, grab a snack and settle down by the fire. You're going to need your strength where we're going. This is a classified mission that never officially happened. No reports were filed. No medals were awarded. No names were recorded in any database. But it did happen. In the fall of 2018, a 6-man special operations team was deployed to the remote wilderness of northern Idaho with a single objective: locate and neutralize an alpha dogman and his pack that had been terrorizing isolated communities for over 3 months. What they found was beyond anything their training had prepared them for. A pack of 7 creatures, led by an intelligent, strategic alpha that hunted humans like prey. This is their story, told by the only 2 men who made it out alive. This is Operation Ghost Wolf. Undisclosed military base. September 2018, Captain James Morrison sat in a windowless briefing room with his 5-man team, Delta Force operators, the best of the best. They'd operated in Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, urban warfare, mountain warfare, desert operations. They thought they'd seen everything. They were wrong. "Gentlemen," the intelligence officer began, pulling up satellite imagery on the screen. "What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level. What we're asking you to do doesn't officially exist." The screen showed a topographical map of northern Idaho, near the Canadian border. Vast wilderness, thick forest, mountain ranges, hundreds of square miles of uninhabited territory. Over the past 14 weeks, 11 people have disappeared in this region. Hikers, campers, hunters. We've recovered 4 bodies. What was done to them? The officer paused. It wasn't bears. It wasn't mountain lions. The attack patterns, the consumption methods, the coordinated nature of the kills. This is something else. Sergeant Mike Torres, the team's senior NCO, spoke up. "Sir, with all due respect, this sounds like a law enforcement issue, not a military operation." It was. Until 3 weeks ago. Another image appeared. A trail camera photo, grainy but clear enough. It showed a creature standing upright on 2 legs, approximately 8 feet tall, covered in dark fur. The head was unmistakably canine, wolf-like with pointed ears and a pronounced snout. But the body was wrong. Too humanoid, too muscular, arms too long. "Jesus Christ," whispered Corporal Danny Hayes. "We have 17 trail cam images from different locations," the officer continued, "all showing similar creatures. We believe we're dealing with a pack, at least 6 to 8 individuals, and they're hunting together. Coordinated pack tactics, like wolves, but with human-level intelligence." Captain Morrison leaned forward. "What exactly are we looking at here?" "Cryptozoologists call them dogmen, bipedal canine cryptids. The scientific community denies their existence. But we have bodies, we have evidence, and we have a body count that's rising. Your mission is to locate this pack, identify the alpha, and eliminate the threat." "Rules of engagement?" Morrison asked. "There are no rules, Captain. This mission doesn't exist. You'll be inserted via helicopter at 400 hours tomorrow. You'll have 7 days. Eliminate the targets and extract. Any questions?" Specialist Ryan Chen raised his hand. "Sir, how do we kill them?" The officer pulled out a case containing specialized ammunition, high-caliber rounds, silver-jacketed. "Field tests suggest silver has some effect on these creatures, though we don't know why. Aim for center mass or headshots. And gentlemen, don't underestimate them. The last team we sent in, we only recovered their equipment." The room went silent. Northern Idaho wilderness, day 1. The team inserted at dawn, 30 miles from the nearest road. Captain Morrison, Sergeant Torres, Corporal Hayes, Specialist Chen, Private First Class Marcus Webb, and Private Aaron Klein. 6 men, fully armed, trained for the worst. They established a base camp and began their patrol pattern, moving through dense forest toward the area of highest activity. The plan was simple. Find tracks, locate the den, set up an ambush, eliminate the targets. But by day 3, they hadn't found the pack. The pack had found them. "Captain, we've got movement," Torres whispered into his radio. It was 2100 hours, full darkness. and they were camped in a defensive position on high ground. Thermals picking up something, multiple signatures, they're circling us. Morrison activated his night vision. Through the green-tinted display, he saw them. 7 shapes moving through the forest in perfect coordination. Too large to be wolves, too organized to be random animals. Weapons hot, Morrison ordered. Hold fire until we have clear shots. The creatures moved closer. Morrison could see them clearly now through his scope. Bipedal, 8 to 9 feet tall, covered in thick fur, grey, black, brown. Moving on 2 legs with disturbing ease. The way they communicated was wrong. Low growls and barks that seemed almost linguistic. Then the alpha appeared. It was massive, nearly 10 feet tall, with jet black fur and shoulders broader than any human's. It stood at the edge of the clearing, fully upright, and Morrison could swear it was assessing them, studying their positions, calculating. "That's the alpha," Chen whispered. "Has to be." The alpha raised its head and released a howl that shook the trees. Not a wolf howl, something deeper, more resonant, almost vocal, a command. The pack attacked. They came from 3 directions simultaneously. "Contact left," Hayes shouted, opening fire. His rifle barked, muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness. Morrison saw one creature take 3 rounds to the chest and barely stagger. "They're armored," Torres yelled. "Thick hide or bone plates, aim for the head." Morrison centered his scope on a charging dogman and fired. The silver-jacketed round caught it in the skull. The creature dropped instantly, thrashing. "Silver works," Morrison confirmed. "Headshots only." But the pack was fast, impossibly fast. They moved like wolves, but with the intelligence of humans, using cover, flanking, coordinating their assault. Private Klein screamed. Morrison spun to see a dogman, greyish fur, easily 8.5 feet tall, dragging Klein into the darkness. The private was firing his sidearm point blank into the creature's torso, but it wasn't stopping. "Klein!" Webb charged after him, firing on full auto. The dogman released Klein and turned on Webb, moving with horrifying speed. It backhanded Webb 15 feet through the air. He hit a tree with a sickening crack and didn't move. "Fall back," Morrison ordered. "Fighting retreat to the rally point." The team moved as one, laying down suppressive fire. Morrison saw the alpha watching from the tree line, not engaging, just observing, learning. Chen threw a flashbang. The explosion and blinding light scattered the pack momentarily, giving them precious seconds. They ran. Behind them, they could hear the pack pursuing, not just following, herding them, driving them toward something. "It's a trap!" Torres shouted. "They're pushing us somewhere." He was right. The team broke into a clearing and found themselves surrounded on 3 sides by steep cliffs, a kill box. The pack emerged from the forest, all 7, including the alpha. They didn't charge. They simply stood there, blocking the only exit, waiting. "They corralled us," Morrison said, horror creeping into his voice. "Like wolves with elk. They planned this." The alpha stepped forward. In the moonlight, Morrison could see its face clearly. Wolf-like, but with intelligence in those amber eyes. It opened its mouth, revealing teeth the size of a human thumb, and made a sound that was unmistakably a laugh. A deep, rumbling, mocking sound. "It's toying with us," Hayes whispered. Morrison made a decision. "Concentrate all fire on the alpha. We take it down, maybe the pack breaks. On my mark, fire." All 5 remaining operators opened fire simultaneously. Silver-jacketed rounds tore through the air. The alpha moved. It was so fast Morrison barely tracked it. The creature dodged, weaved, and when rounds did hit, it absorbed them with barely a flinch. It charged straight at them, closing 30 yards in seconds. The alpha hit their line like a freight train. It grabbed Corporal Hayes by the tactical vest and threw him against the cliff face. Hayes crumpled, unconscious or worse. Chen drew his combat knife and actually managed to slash the alpha's arm. Black blood sprayed, and the creature roared, a sound of pain and rage. It grabbed Chen by the throat with one massive hand and lifted him off the ground. "No!" Morrison emptied his magazine into the alpha's torso. Some rounds penetrated, black blood flowing from the wounds, but it wasn't enough. The alpha squeezed. Morrison heard Chen's neck snap. Torres pulled out a thermite grenade, not standard issue, but something he'd brought. just in case. He pulled the pin and threw it directly at the Alpha's feet. The grenade ignited, white-hot flames erupting. The Alpha dropped Chen's body and recoiled, fur catching fire. It released a howl of agony and retreated into the darkness. The pack scattered. "Move! Now!" Torres grabbed Morrison and the two ran. Behind them, they could hear the Alpha's rage-filled howls echoing through the mountains. They ran for 3 hours straight, using every evasion tactic they knew. When dawn broke, they found themselves 12 miles from their insertion point, exhausted, wounded, but alive. "The others?" Morrison asked, though he knew the answer. Torres shook his head. "Gone. All of them. Webb, Klein, Hayes, Chen. We are all that's left." They activated their emergency beacon and waited for extraction. The helicopter arrived at 1400 hours. As it lifted off, Morrison looked down at the vast wilderness below. Somewhere in those trees, the Alpha was still alive, wounded, but alive. And its pack was still hunting. Back at base, the debriefing was brief and classified. Official report, training exercise, equipment malfunction, 4 KIA, the intelligence officer stated flatly. "The mission is closed." Closed? Morrison couldn't believe it. That thing is still out there. The pack is still active. The decision has been made at the highest level. The cost of engagement exceeds the strategic value. The area will be monitored. No further operations will be conducted. Morrison and Torres were reassigned to different units within a week. Separated, silenced by NDAs that carried life imprisonment penalties. But Morrison knows the truth, that Alpha is still out there, still hunting, still leading its pack. And it's smarter than any animal has a right to be. "People ask me why I left the service," Morrison says, his hands still trembling slightly when he tells this story. "I tell them I did my time, but the truth, I couldn't shake the memory of those eyes, the Alpha's eyes, the intelligence I saw there, the calculation. It wasn't an animal, it was something else, something that learned our tactics, adapted to our weapons, and outsmarted a Delta Force team." Torres, now working private security, adds his perspective. 4 good men died in those woods, the best operators I ever served with, and officially, it never happened. There's no memorial, no recognition, just classified files and government denial, but I know what I saw, I know what's out there. And I know that somewhere in northern Idaho, there's a pack of dogmen led by an Alpha that's killed soldiers, civilians, and God knows what else, and nobody's doing anything about it. Operation Ghost Wolf officially never happened. The 4 soldiers who died are listed as training casualties. The mission reports are sealed under national security classifications that won't be declassified for 75 years. But in the wilderness of northern Idaho, hikers still disappear. Hunters still find mutilated remains. Trail cameras still capture images of massive bipedal creatures moving through the forest. And somewhere in those mountains, an Alpha dogman that survived an encounter with America's elite special forces continues to hunt with its pack. The government won't talk about it. The military denies it. But Morrison and Torres know the truth. Some predators can't be defeated. Some hunts can't be won. And some classified missions end not with victory, but with survival. The Alpha is still out there, and it's still hunting.